So why do you think the military teaches its recruits some of the basic military skills like land navigation? Why do you think that is? Obvious answer to that question is because they want them to possess the basic fundamental skills that they can use out in a combat environment, correct? Yes, of course. What is the other main reason, or one of the other reasons? It's to instill confidence. When you could take a skill like land navigation and wrap your head around it and embrace the fundamentals and go out into like a wooded environment or a trail area or any number of areas where you want to operate, and you can take that skill and you can apply it confidently, it makes doing the other things a little bit easier. Because then you're not thinking, man, what if I get lost? Oh, we're in here pretty far. This trail doesn't look familiar. How do we get out of here? All of those questions usually are put to rest by the fact that you possess this set of skills that allows you to do these things. It builds your confidence. And I would argue that the skills that build the most self-confidence are the most important. You know, everything else really in life is academic. Some people have an aptitude to be one thing or another, and that's understood. And when you learn, let's say, a trade or a discipline or philosophy, it's primarily academic. The biggest component to learning, of course, and doing things is confidence. And again, that's the main goal, really, of training military recruits in this nation. I'm going to tell you something. The United States, in my opinion, has a big issue with self-confidence right now. We're not a self-confident culture. Why do I say this? Because all I have to do is look around and I can see it manifested physically in people and the way people act and the way they present themselves in public, primarily. The obesity pandemic or epidemic, the rampant drug use, the gender dysphoria, these are all a result of low self-confidence. People that don't possess confidence typically exhibit or manifest these types of behaviors, lifestyles, and choices. And then they make excuses for it. Read an article today talking about obesity, the obesity pandemic or epidemic in this country. We have a real problem with obesity. Kids are not as active as they used to be. That's a generalization. There's some that are. There's a minority of kids that are active, athletic, in sports and do physical type activities. It's not the norm. And again, how do I know this? Well, the same way you should know this. All you have to do is walk out and go into a public area and you can see it for yourself. So when I see it, or when I see somebody dressing in a manner that looks disheveled or unkempt or just disgusting, I think that they probably have a confidence issue. That's at the root of all of it. So that's something we, as Americans, need to model by our example and encourage in others and in ourselves. So I like doing these little how-to videos, taking you guys out and showing you how to do this kind of stuff. Because I learned it years ago, coming up through the military. And I like to do a lot of outdoor activities, so I think it's a great skill. And so I try to put these videos together that I think are somewhat entertaining and engaging and fun to watch, and then you guys can take it or leave it. That's the way I kind of look at it. We have become a compliant culture rather than a self-confident culture. We have a society that demands compliance more than anything. You guys heard this one? Talk a little politics just briefly. Down in Oregon, they are running some legislation through their House right now that says or states or words to this effect that if you're a property owner and you have, let's say you've got a couple acres, okay, and you've got some people that are on your property against your will, trespassers, and they're squatting. and you decide to confront them and tell them that they have to leave your property. In Oregon, they want to create a law that would make you liable, where these people that are trespassing illegally on your property could sue you for potential damages because you're denying them their right to live somewhere. I'll tell you what this is. This is straight out of the communist playbook, because they want to criminalize private property ownership. You guys know that. I know that. You know that. Everybody knows that. And you know what the real problem is? Is we don't have the fucking confidence as a nation to stand up and say exactly what is going on right in front of our eyes. And that's a problem. No, everybody wants to pretend like none of this is happening. You know, they go out and they hide in their little social groups and, you know, sedate themselves with their variety of vices. And then they put their head down, you know, come Monday and, you know, commiserate amongst their small group of friends, but they really don't want to confront these issues by having dialogue like what we're doing right here. Meanwhile, in Oregon, they're pushing such legislation through that if it were to pass and be signed off by their governor, which I imagine it would in that state, then it would hold private property owners liable for people that are trespassing illegally on private property. Take a look at Portland for a shining example. Okay. So again, the American culture has nothing more than a confidence problem. Arrogance disguised as confidence, it's pretty easy to see through, has no staying power, and it's situational and fleeting at best. The Gavin Newsoms of the world, the Justin Trudeaus of the world, the Joe Bidens of the world. Let's go back. The Barack Obamas were the very arrogant individuals. But I don't see any real staying power in their message. So that's a question we need to ask of ourselves. Are we going to allow our country to devolve into what we think they want it to become? Just talked about this private property issue. And what do they typically do in totalitarian, communist, socialist type societies? They criminalize private property ownership. Do they not? That's really not a rhetorical question. You guys know the answer to that. I'm asking you, do they not do that? I know the answer to it, and I think most people do, but are just really unwilling to confront it. Because like I said, a lot of this stuff happens incrementally. So that's where you and I come in. We just, have this dialogue. And it's healthy. It's healthy to have this dialogue. And the people that don't benefit from a free and open society don't like it so much. Makes them uncomfortable. So they get into these positions of power and influence to try to advance these agendas to make us a compliant culture rather than a self-confident culture. You and I are going to have something to say about that.